All right, everybody, Michael Cohen here with you on Sports Talk Nation. Let's talk about the Mets and Yankees as they completed their Subway Series this past weekend on the holiday weekend for the 4th of July. Obviously, I did not put together a video on Sunday night. I'm doing it here on a Monday as we are getting ready for what will be the last week here before the All-Star break. Of course, the Mets have the Orioles, which will be a tricky series coming up. Yankees taking on the Mariners. And really, this, to me, when we came into this series, was going to be about survival, about trying to save, in a way, a season. Because you have two teams that came into this series not playing all that great. And as we sit here now, Yankee fans are in full panic mode. Met fans are feeling pretty good, but not, I can't sit here and say confidently fantastic. But it's certainly a better feeling knowing that your team, if you're a Met fan, came out of this series having won 2 out of 3. And let's just be honest. Had Cody Bellinger not made that incredible play on Sunday night, or Sunday afternoon, and it would have been first and second and nobody out in the 7th inning. Had that not happened, there's a good chance the Mets would have come back, could have come back, especially with the way things are going for the Yankee bullpen, and won that game and swept the series. That's how big that catch was for the Yankees because I'm not going to say save a season. I can't say that here in the middle of July when we have, 2.5 more months to go before the end of the regular season. And I look at the American League, and as I said before, and I'll say again, even though the Yankees find themselves in a precarious position now, as they now trail by 3.5 games by Toronto for first place in the AL East, you look at the rest of the American League, as far as the wild card is concerned, not a lot going on there outside of the Yankees in Tampa Bay and maybe Seattle. Everyone else is kind of hovering around 500 or under 500 in the American League. So, at the very least, it gives the Yankees a bit of a pause. It gives them a satisfying feeling that they won a game in a series that they absolutely got dominated against by the New York Mets because the Mets' bats in this series were incredible. And what really has to make Met fans feel good is this. They went into this series absolute underdogs. Absolute underdogs. Every game in this series, with the exception of maybe. No, there is no exception. They were underdogs no matter what. Every single game in this series, the pitching matchup didn't favor them. Friday was Stroman against Hageman. Saturday, it was Rodon, who has had a pretty good season up to this point, against the ex-Yankee Frankie Montas. And then Sunday, of course, Max Fried, the best the Yankees have right now, going up against a Met bullpen. So for the Mets to come out here and win 2 out of 3 is huge for them. And to be that close to potentially sweeping this series is huge. So from that standpoint, if you're the Mets, you got to feel great about that. But the offense really came to play in a big way for the Mets in this series. In all 3 games combined, the Mets as a team hit 300. 30 hits in 100 at-bats. They had 6 home runs. 5 different Met players had home runs. Of course, Pete Alonso had 2 home runs in the series, including that mammoth 3-run home run on Saturday. You got not just home runs, but big home runs in big spots. Jeff McNeil's home run on Friday, of course, the 2-run bomb to the upper deck in right field that ended up being the game-winning home run. Earlier in that game, Juan Soto's 2-run shot following the back-to-back home runs by Jason Dominguez and Aaron Judge was huge because the Mets are down 2-0. Hageman had just given up a couple of runs. You're not feeling too, it's kind of an uneasy feeling knowing that you have basically a bullpen game against the Yankees to start the Subway Series, and Juan Soto ties the game up at 2 and just settles things down. That was a huge home run. Of course, as I just mentioned, the Alonso home run, but also, how about Brandon Nimmo, a grand slam? He has been Mr. Grand Slam lately. He's had, I believe, 3 grand slams this year, 2 of them in the last week now, one against Milwaukee and then against the Yankees. He has been on fire. I mean, everyone is hitting the baseball. And look, there are the stats right there. Look at this. Nimmo in this series. 3 out of 10, 3 runs scored, 4 RBIs, a home run. Lindor, 3 out of 11, 4 runs scored, 3 RBIs. Soto, 4 out of 11, he had a home run, 3 RBIs. Alonso, 6 RBIs. McNeil, 3 RBIs, a home run. Even Brett Beatty getting in the mix with a home run. And Starling Marte had a big series. He went 5 out of 8 with an RBI. So everybody had pretty much everybody had a big series against the Yankees offensively, the Mets, and a lot of that is because if you want to be a bit of a cynic, but let's just be honest here, the Yankees pitching stinks. The Yankees pitching is just god-awful. And it's a big reason why they got swept in Toronto last week. It's a big reason why they ended up losing this series. They can't get outs. And it's not just the bullpen, but the starters, too. Marcus Stroman pitched okay. He pitched okay. I think of the three starting pitchers, he pitched probably the best in this series for the Yankees, but not great. Gave up 3 runs. Rodon got shelled. 7 runs, 6 earned over, 4 1/3 innings. He got knocked around in this series. And then Max Fried just didn't have great command. He didn't dominate the strike zone the way he did against the Mets back in May. The Mets were able to make some things happen off of him. The unfortunate part for the Mets is they just couldn't get the big hit in a timely spot to really knock him out earlier. I mean, the Mets had a situation in the first inning where they had a couple of guys on, couldn't drive anybody in. They had a number of those situations on Sunday where they had runners on board and couldn't drive anybody in. It was kind of really a frustrating game from that standpoint for the Mets because they were so close. If they just had that one hit, even in a couple of different instances throughout the course of the game, there was even a situation where the bases loaded and could only bring in a couple of runs on an infield single and an error. And they couldn't do anything else with that because I think they had Soto and Alonso coming up after that. I think it was after the infield single by McNeil. Oh no, it was actually a two-run single by Lindor rather, and on Sunday, and then they couldn't drive in another run after that. So things like that kind of frustrated you on Sunday with the Mets. But overall, they teed off on the Yankees pitching staff, and the bullpen for the Yankees, as I just alluded to, was terrible. Whether it be Luke Weaver, who just looked like he didn't have anything on the mound when he gave up those 3 runs in that inning, including that home run to McNeil on Friday. Whether it be Mark Leiter, who continues to struggle. Ian Hamilton got shelled in that series. Jonathan Loizaga had a tough time in this series. Some, and I give credit to Gary Keith and Ron, they mentioned this in their broadcast on Sunday, saying that Yankees kind of miss Fernando Cruz right now. It's obvious they need help in their bullpen because no matter what Aaron Boone decides to do, and I know Yankee fans are killing Aaron Boone a lot. There's only so much you can do when you have so many injuries, and you have a team that you have a pitching staff that just isn't good. There's only so much you can do. Yankees have to make moves, just like the Mets have to make moves to fix their pitching staff, especially for the Yankees in that bullpen, which is just putrid. In fact, against the Mets, Yankees had a 7 ERA in 27 innings against the Mets in that series. So where are we now? As we now watch the dust settle in this series, Mets win the series 2-1. The season series is a split 3-3. As I said, from the Met perspective, you got to feel good. You came out there as an underdog in this series. You beat up the Yankees pitching staff. You made a huge statement at home. You won 2 games. You could have easily swept this series. Now you got to go into a series in a week where you're on the road at Baltimore, at Kansas City. If you're the Mets, you've got to find a way to take 4 out of 6. And even though this week was a good week for the Mets, because not only did they beat the Yankees, they beat the Brewers as well. So now they have a head-to-head advantage against Milwaukee. Should we have a tiebreaker scenario come the end of the year as far as wild card position is concerned, if that comes to pass. But I think it's important from the Met perspective is not to forget what we went through against Pittsburgh, right? You can't forget that whole week where the Mets were losing games and got swept by Pittsburgh because there are concerns. We had concerns about the injuries, concerns about the pitching staff. Where was this thing going? And I think those are still grave concerns. Now, the good part is for the Mets is they could end up getting some reinforcements this week. There's expected that Jesse Winker is going to come back off the IL on Tuesday. The expectation is that Cody Bellinger could be back by the weekend in Kansas City. And maybe even Sean Manaea coming back. And if the Mets can get those guys back, that's huge. Another name that could be coming back off an IL is Brooks Raley. The Mets absolutely need help in the bullpen. And to get Brooks Raley back would be huge as well. So there's something to look forward to in that regard. But even with that, if I'm the Mets and if I'm David Stearns, I don't rest on my laurels on the fact that you're going to get a number of guys back off the IL. I still got to look around for another pitcher. I still got to look around for another relief arm because we're getting closer and closer to the trade deadline. We're just now, 3 weeks away. And the Mets need some help. They need another starting pitcher. They need another reliever down there in the bullpen because you had a scenario this weekend where you only had Edwin Diaz and Ryan Stanek available for one day against that Yankee lineup. That's tough. That's tough. So they need another arm down there in the bullpen, and preferably someone who can be a late inning guy, kind of like an eighth inning bridge player. Pitcher, for that matter, that can help in that bullpen. We'll see how the Mets can figure that one out. And if you're the Mets, you have to just hope that this continues offensively for this team. Because this weekend was the first time really for a while, and really maybe all season, where we've seen the potential of how lethal this lineup can be when everyone starts to click at the same time. As I mentioned over the stats before, Alonso, Nimmo, McNeil, Lindor, Soto, all these guys were hitting well at the same time. If you're the Mets, you hope that can continue. Obviously, you like to continue for the immediate future right now to get you to the All-Star break, but obviously down the road, long-term, you're thinking of what this team could look like come the postseason. So from the Mets standpoint, it's a nice series win, a huge statement. It gets you back on the right foot, makes you feel good about things right now. But, there's still a lot of work to be done for this baseball team moving forward. As for the Yankees are concerned, it's obviously panic time. Yankee fans feel that their season is unraveling. They're now 3.5 games out of first place. This was a team that was in first place just not that long ago. And there is a lot of concern right now. The Toronto Blue Jays have now won 9 in a row. Blue Jays look good, folks. They are a no-joke team. They got good pitching. And guys like Berrios and Chris Bassett. Berrios pitched tonight, in fact, against the White Sox. They got, obviously, good hitters who have, guys who've been there before, like George Springer, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette. This is a team that a lot of people have been waiting for it to click eventually, and it feels like the Blue Jays are starting to click in the AL East. If you're the Yankees, this is not a good thing. And what's worse for the Yankees is that they're under 500. The Yankees are 10-16 in the AL East. That's not good at all. And the Rays are right in the mix as well here to chase the Yankees down for second place. So from that standpoint, obviously, much like the Mets, they need help with their pitching staff. I don't think they need as far as help with hitting is concerned. They have hitters. They have professional players there like Goldschmidt and Bellinger who are making great plays all over the place, especially defensively. So that's not a concern, but they need starting pitching and they need relief help. And that's the biggest thing for them going forward. So that's the next Subway Series war here as we head into these next 3 weeks is, do the Yankees and Mets compete for certain pitchers on the market here as we get towards the trade deadline? One last thing I want to talk about is this. The ending of that game on Sunday, I don't know what John Bacon was thinking with those two calls, but here they are again. These pitches are so low. It's ridiculous. And you see Carlos Mendoza barking and saying, "That's low. That's low. Come on, what are you doing?" I don't blame Carlos Mendoza at all. I thought that was great that he was quick to jump out of that dugout after that horrible strike 3 call on Luis Torrens and get himself tossed out of the ball game and kick dirt on the home plate just to make a statement. Because in a weekend where the Mets were making a statement against the Yankees, their manager also made a statement saying, "Hey, look, we're not going to stand for that kind of nonsense either." So a good weekend for the Mets, not a good weekend for the Yankees, and we're just a few days away from the All-Star break. Like and subscribe. We'll talk to you next time.